You are listening to Grab Them by the Pod, a member of the ACE Podcast Network. Thank you for joining us back here at Grab Them by the Pod. It's been a minute, but I am here as always, Kevin, along with Jesse. And wow, do we have a lot to talk to you about tonight. A lot happens when you take a couple weeks off, huh, Jess?
There's so much going on. We can't keep up with it. Literally from the moment we start recording, more news comes out. We just started recording, and as we hit record, it came out that the New Yorker's Ronan Farrow reported that the person who's been leaking information out about Michael Cohen, Michael Avenatti's been getting a lot of it. Apparently he's doing so because two suspicious activity reports related to Cohen are missing from the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And this person, who we don't know who it is, said, "I have never seen something pulled off the system. The system is a safeguard for the bank. It's a stockpile of information. When something is not there that should be, I immediately became concerned." So I'm guessing we're probably going to talk about this next week. Unless more stuff comes out and pushes that behind. But we wanted to bring that up, that it just literally broke, and we haven't had a chance to look into it yet, so we'll get back to it, I hope. Right?
To be continued. Yeah. Yes, we will.
And I'm sure there'll be even more coming up by the time we're done recording. It's just crazy. But before we get into some of the news, I just wanted to give a shout out to former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. I read he's recovering from treatment for pancreatic cancer. They said the doctors caught it early, and it was during a routine screening, why everybody should be getting that kind of screening when you get to a certain age. They think the surgery was a success, and the prognosis for his recovery is good, so we wish him well.
Yes, Harry Reid, the inspiration behind the winning paper title back in the early 2000s in college. Read this paper. I'm glad to hear that the prognosis is pretty good. He's a tough guy. I mean, he was an amateur boxer in his younger days, so he's pretty tough. He'll take this head on.
Well, didn't he take some kind of weight lifting equipment to the face when he was working out on his door or something, and it made him, maybe lost, I don't think he lost an eye, but I think he was going blind for a while. Yeah, it's been rough for him.
Yeah, he did have some issues with his workout equipment.
Well, good luck to you, Harry Reid. Wish you the best. But back to speaking of news that's just coming out nonstop. Today, the Senate Intelligence Committee said that they agree with the intelligence community that Russia interfered with the 2016 election and that they tried to help Donald Trump win. Committee Chairman Richard Burr, who, by the way, is a Republican, said there is no doubt that Russia undertook an unprecedented effort to interfere with our 2016 elections. You see what happens, Kevin, when you have a committee that's not run by Devin Nunes?
Yeah, I was going to say, but I thought he was cleared. Trump said so after the House Intelligence Committee released their only slightly biased report.
It's nice seeing a committee where both sides can work together. I mean, I've had a weird relationship with Richard Burr for a long time because he, I think, worked in 212 Russell, and I used to work in 213 Dirksen Senate office building. People always came to my office looking for his office. We're like, sorry, it's across the street. But so this committee also released 2,500 pages of congressional testimonies related to the June 2016 Trump Tower meeting. And this is the meeting where Don Jr. was promised damaging information on Hillary from the Russians. That he said it wasn't about that; it was about adoptions. But we all knew what it was about, and the stuff that came out, it just doesn't make Don Jr. look good at all.
No, not at all. But can we expect anything less from the Trump team? We've kind of grown to expect this sort of thing. Is this surprising to anybody?
How dare we? And I'll tell our listeners going forward, because they're all Trumps. I'll be referring to Donald Trump Jr. as Don Jr., and I'll just be talking about Donald Trump, the president, as Trump, if you guys can keep that straight. So first, publicist Rob Goldstone had said that his source could provide official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary. And Don Jr.'s response was, seems we have some time, and if it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer. And in his testimony to Congress, yet Don Jr. confirmed that he was talking about opposition research. So right off the bat, Don Jr. is proven to be a liar because, as we just mentioned, he had said for a long, long time that, we were just meeting with these guys about an adoption. We know that's not true, and now the entire world knows it as well.
I mean, can we blame him for being a liar, though? It's all learned behavior. It's like those old commercials, public service commercials back in the 90s. I learned it from watching you.
And he was talking to his father in that commercial. Yeah, so
Exactly.
you're right, man. You're right. I love that. It's good. Don Jr. He's also playing the. I do not recall. I have no memory of the events in question when he said he didn't remember whether a call that came in from a blocked phone number was his father. It's really interesting to me, Kevin, how all these self-proclaimed smart guys have such bad memories. Maybe they have to eat, what is it, more carrots? Or what helps your brain function? I don't even remember.
There's a reason, Jess, why former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson threw major shade at the president this weekend in a commencement address at Virginia Military Institute, saying there's a growing crisis in ethics and integrity and leaders who conceal the truth.
The people who used to work for Trump aren't even bothering to hide their disdain for him anymore. They're just coming out and saying it. Yeah, maybe you have to read between the lines, but no one is confused by what Tillerson is saying. And you're seeing that more and more. The call was made on June 6, 23 minutes after a call made to a Russian pop star when they were going to be putting this meeting together. 4 minutes after that call, he called the pop star back. So if it was Trump, then, he'd be a proven liar. Though, I mean, a bigger liar than we already know Trump's a liar, but he'd be proven a liar too because Trump has denied knowing about this meeting. But it really just is amazing that this is a big event, I would imagine, in Don Jr.'s life. And he had a 4-minute call with a blocked number, and he can't remember who it was. I don't think anybody is buying that. Are you?
I certainly am not. But, Trump's been, not recalling or lying about a lot of things lately. Money exchanged, things like that.
If you don't remember, you're not lying, right? You're just, I don't. Maybe it's true. I just don't remember. And let us not forget that former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski actually testified that the president's primary residence does block their number. So as we said before, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3. 1 + 1 equals 2. And it just all adds up, no matter what the Trump campaign tries to tell or the Trump administration tries to tell us.
Yeah, where there is smoke, there is fire.
Yeah, indeed. Don Jr.'s attorney also, I think this is really damning, tried to coordinate accounts with Goldstone about the meeting at Trump Tower. Tell me, Kevin, if you're telling the truth, do you have to talk to somebody about what the truth is? No, you just know it. It's natural.
Yeah, any situation I've ever been in, that's for sure.
I believe it was Tip O'Neill who said, tell the truth the first time, then you don't have to remember what you said. And, truer words, I think, have not been spoken. So Goldstone said that Don Jr.'s attorneys called and asked if he could help them understand his recollection of the events of the meeting. And then they sent him a proposed statement, which said, you know what? If you feel comfortable sending this out, send it out. And again, I don't need somebody else's lawyers to write up a statement about what occurred at something I was at. I know it. I can do it myself. It looks like they're trying to put words in his mouth, or at least his pen or their pen to his paper.
Yeah, no pressure or anything, but say this.
And possibly the biggest goober in this entire administration is Jared Kushner. And he had told in the past to the Senate Judiciary Committee that he arrived at the meeting late, that he left it early because it was basically just a big waste of time.
Yeah, back when he was the adult in the room.
Yeah, what happened? He just sits there and he takes it, and they've said it over and over again. If somebody goes down, there's a good chance it'll be Jared, and we'll get more to that later about what Rudy Giuliani thinks about Jared. But Goldstone said Kushner was actually there for the whole meeting. He said after a few minutes of this labor presentation, Jared Kushner, who was sitting right next to me, appeared somewhat agitated by this and said, "I really have no idea what you're talking about. Can you please focus a bit more and maybe just start again?" And I recall that she began the presentation exactly where she had begun the last time, almost word for word, which seemed by his body language to infuriate him even more. That doesn't sound like somebody who came in late and left early.
No, this whole thing is a foul to me. But again, we've got to wait until all the facts come out. But they certainly seem to be pointing in a particular direction.
Yeah, and there were 2,500 pages released. These are the initial things that came out just before we went on the air, some of the quick stories we were able to read and ascertain. So, there's more out there. I'm sure there'll be more released. And again, it all just does not look good for the Trump administration. I've said it before. I said it earlier today. How many coincidences can we take? Pretty soon they're not coincidences. They're just a pattern. And the pattern is the Trump administration is dirty and doing things wrong.
Well, there's a reason why the president has proclaimed he likes uneducated people, because they don't call him on this.
Exactly. They love him and they listen to whatever he says. But, I will give Trump some credit. He did get the 3 hostages back from North Korea, and that's a good thing. We're not going to crap at him for that. But there's been additional problems after that. So he got them back. Everything was hunky-dory. They were going to set up a meeting with Kim Jong-un in June in Singapore. But hold on, Kevin, hold your horses. That may not be actually happening. Yesterday, North Korea said the summit is at risk because of a joint military exercise between the U.S. and South Korea. They said the United States will have to undertake careful deliberations about the fate of the planned North Korea-U.S. summit in light of this provocative military ruckus jointly conducted by South Korean authorities. I love that they called it a ruckus, but I don't think, are any of us surprised this is happening, or that it may not happen?
Yeah, no. What are they, Wu-Tang Clan? They bring the ruckus here? Is that Wu-Tang? I think it's Wu-Tang.
Oh, that is Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to...
We get
deleted. Yeah. North Korea has played this game in the past with different administrations. They act like they're going to do something, and then they pull out. I mean, this is just par for the course. And what's dangerous here is, and we're going to talk about the Iran deal and what happened there in a little bit, but as we know, Trump pulled out of the Iran deal, and he's going to end up making a deal here in North Korea that's as good as that deal or worse. And he's going to do it because he has to save face. After he proclaimed this was happening, after people were saying he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, if he doesn't get something done, it's going to be egg all over his face. And if we know anything, Trump would rather do something that makes him look good than that is something that's good for the country.
Yeah, I was going to say, might want to hold off on giving him that Nobel Prize just yet.
I saw a cartoon yesterday. He won the Nobel Prize for fiction, and that's something he could be getting. No one spins a yarn quite like Donald Trump. So, and this is going to be, I'm sure, developing over the next few days and over the next couple of weeks, because we are I think we're just about a month away from the proposed date for this meeting in Singapore. And if it happens, great. If they can get them to denuclearize, great. I mean, yes, we don't necessarily want wins for Donald Trump because we don't want him to be reelected, but getting rid of the nuclear weapons in North Korea is a win for us. It's a win for the world, and I don't think anybody should be against that.
Well, it begs the question here. If you're trying to denuclearize North Korea, do you think it's a wise idea to run joint military operations, that close to North Korea? That's going to make them feel real confident they can give up on their nuclear weapons.
Well, here's the scary part about the deal we may make. I don't know if it was bold. I've heard people talking about this recently, that the deal may be on the table that they can take away some of their missiles so that they can't attack the United States. That's not going to make South Korea. That's not going to make Japan feel good about things. And if we go in there just trying to cover our own butts, well, to me, that's not much of a deal at all. Because we've said it before. We're America, and the way we look at it is that we're there to help the world, not just save our own sorry butts. And I think you either have to go all the way or not at all. I don't know. So, Kevin, this is the funny thing. I actually want to talk about this first, but then way too many things popped up and it got pushed down the list. But on our last show, you had a theory about Rudy Giuliani, and maybe he was trying to help get rid of Trump from the inside. But since then, Rudy's really lost his mind. Do you still think that theory is a possibility?
Yeah, not so much anymore. He seems to be unraveling faster than you can say boo.
Yeah, but it was almost, I think, directly after we posted our last podcast, Rudy started his media blitz. He went on to Hannity and said that Cohen paying Stormy Daniels $130,000 would turn out to be perfectly legal, not a violation of campaign finance law. He said that they funneled it through a law firm, and then the president repaid it. And to me, that's where the problem pops up. First of all, when you're talking about legal terms and people being in trouble, saying something was funneled, it does not sound good. It sounds dirty. It sounds like you're doing something illegal.
Yeah, not a good look at all.
And second, Trump previously said no when he was asked if he knew anything about the payment. So Giuliani admitted on live TV that Trump knew about the payment when Trump had repeatedly denied this in the past.
Yeah, and again, as usual, right? There's video evidence of this on board Air Force One on April 5th, telling a reporter that he was unaware of the payment.
But it doesn't matter. It only happens. That's fake news. Even though there's video of it, it's fake news. Never happened. Giuliani was trying to say that Trump reimbursing Cohen cleared him of campaign finance violations, but it just blew up in his face. The Washington Post had pointed out that it's still not okay if you do that. You can't take a massive unreported loan from a campaign. Yeah. There are rules. This isn't enough.
Yeah, you and I ran for office, Jess, right? And we learned firsthand about campaign finance, right? That was not above board. Everything, every little penny that is spent needs to be documented.
I mean, back in my days in D.C., I spent many an hour at the FEC dropping off filings and reports that you have to say, what did we pay? Who did we lobby for? How much money did we get for? They're there for a reason. There are laws for a reason. Giuliani also made this really bizarre comment about Ivanka and Jared that I alluded to earlier. He said that he wouldn't stand for Mueller going after Ivanka. He goes, Ivanka Trump? I think I would get in my Charger and go right into their office with a lance if they go after Ivanka. But then when it came to Jared, he said, Jared's a fine man, you know that. But men are, disposable. But a fine woman like Ivanka, come on.
A strange, sick obsession almost on par with her own father's, I would say.
Really, I mean, I don't like joking about this kind of stuff, but it's like he has dementia or something. He's like lost his mind. I mean, the things he goes out there and says to people, no rational person would say that unless you're a complete moron. And, Rudy may be a lot of things, but he's been around in the public eye for a long time. I don't know if he's a moron.
America's mayor, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man, what a mighty fall that was. When you have that kind of good PR, just go away and you'll have that forever instead of this, this all happening. Ivanka, she works in the White House. She's fair game for Mueller. And to say otherwise is just, first of all, it's sexist. You can't go after her because she's a woman. This is 2018. We're equal, man. They got the right to vote and they can go down and go to jail just like any other man can too if they're being corrupt.
That's right. Sure can if she acted outside of the law.
Yeah. And so the next morning, Giuliani went on Fox and Friends where he made another mistake. Earlier that day, Trump had said he had reimbursed Cohen through a monthly retainer and said that it had nothing to do with the campaign. But then just a few minutes later on the show, Giuliani explicitly linked the payment to the election. He said, imagine if that came out on October 15th, 2016, in the middle of the last debate with Hillary Clinton. Cohen didn't even ask. Cohen made it go away. He didn't even ask. So he's basically saying that Stormy Daniels was paid so that it wouldn't affect the election. Oops again.
Yes. It, again, comes as no surprise to any sane individual who is watching this objectively.
And, Kevin, I am no fan. Well, I'm a fan of impersonating her, but I'm no real fan of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and she's been denying this stuff for months. So you can look at it a couple ways. Either Trump lied to her or she lied for Trump, and either way, how could you continue to work for him? I mean, he makes her look stupid. She doesn't accept that, so I guess, she can't realize that or refuses to realize that, but he makes her look stupid that you can't be trusted. And if you're the person, you're the voice of the administration, you have to be trusted.
Yeah, well, we already know that her credibility was suspect to begin with, and this just, further puts it in the trash.
Yeah. So then, Giuliani went on George Stephanopoulos' show, and Giuliani didn't rule out Trump pleading the fifth. He said discussed it in the past. And guess what? Trump has spoken at length on what he thinks about people who take the fifth. He thinks they're guilty, except for when it happens to him. Giuliani also claimed the $130,000. It wasn't a real payment. It was a nuisance payment. Now what person would go away for $130,000? That's not very much money. Oh, it shows how the elites think.
Oh, yes. A drop in the bucket.
So, Giuliani has tried to walk back some of his comments on Cohen, complaining that Trump never reimbursed him for the Daniels pay. Just a rumor, but Stephanopoulos pointed out to Rudy that, no, it's a fact. You've said this stuff before. And he basically says, maybe I did. I don't know. How do you separate facts from opinion?
Oh, pretty easily, I'd say.
Yeah, it pretty much sums up this White House. Facts are facts when you want them to be facts, and they're just opinions or fake news when you don't want them to be.
Alternative facts.
And who knows what Rudy may say next. He's out there. I saw something in the news that he just said something recently. Of course, I didn't get a chance to get to it because we have so much news to cover. So I'm sure we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. And I think Trump, I read today that he did put in a new disclosure for him saying that he did pay back Cohen for the over $100,000, and we know why now. So, just more winning in the White House. Just the best people they hire, the very best.
All they do is win, 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 no matter what.
So as we mentioned a few minutes ago, last week, Trump announced that he's going to withdraw from the United States from the Iran deal. This fulfills a big Trump campaign promise, but it hurts our relationship across the world, hurts our relationship with our European allies. It kills off just another Obama-era accomplishment, and that's really all he's interested in, just stopping things Obama did.
Yeah, it's the entirety of the Trump Republican agenda.
And it's sad. I understand you can not like things, and you can not even like a president, but not thinking and just doing it because you don't like the previous president or because he made fun of you at the White House Press Association dinner, 6-7 years ago, that's pretty weak. British Prime Minister Theresa May, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, they all issued a joint statement denouncing Trump's decision and said they are urging Iran to continue to meet its own obligations under the deal. And we've seen some signs that it actually may happen. But these are the people, we always say with England, we have a special relationship with them. These are some of our closest allies, and we're basically just telling them, screw off. We don't care. We're going it alone.
Yeah, well, we saw how well that worked with, George W.
You think we would have learned our lesson by now, the whole you're either with us or against us. Well, guess what? The entire world is against us on this issue and on things like the Paris climate agreement, and the Trump White House just doesn't care. They're going to do what they want to do. And Obama, I always praise George W. Bush on how he handles being a former president. I think Obama has followed suit very well. They keep some of their criticism down there, even as much as they may want to say something, they don't. But he's even come out and said, this is misguided and could lead to war in the Middle East. But assuming he's not in jail, we have Jared to take care of the Middle East. So nobody. It's not like anything happened this week in the Middle East, except for in Israel, where people are getting shot.
Yeah, I was going to say, no less causing a war than moving our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But c'est la vie.
It's just insane. And we've said this in previous shows. Internal inspectors, which include U.S. officials, have said that Iran is in compliance with all the terms of the agreement. They're doing everything they were supposed to do, everything they said they were going to do. But as we keep repeating, Trump is so hell-bent on overturning anything Obama does, he doesn't care about facts. Fake news doesn't apply to him. And that's really sad for our country because this is, again, the deal, much like the Affordable Care Act, may not be perfect, but it's better than was there before, and it's better than nothing. And rather than working to make it better, you just scrap it. And the hellstorm that comes with that is just really unfortunate.
Yeah, but sadly, though, Trump's perspective on the Middle East is suspect at best. According to Khaled El-Gindi, a fellow at the Brookings Institute's Center for Middle East Policy, who was quoted in a CNBC article this week saying that the Trump administration has shown, quote unquote, real fundamental lack of understanding of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. He doesn't get it. And yet the policy decisions he's making are causing havoc the world over.
When you want your briefing memos to be one page with graphs and pictures, how could you possibly have a grasp on what's happening? He doesn't know because he doesn't want to know. And that's something that I found with Trump supporters. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be crapping on you if you're a Trump supporter, but I found a lot of hardcore Trump supporters, they love not to know. They don't care about the truth. They want to know their own truth. And whether that's the right thing or not, who cares?
Again, he loves the uneducated. He loves the ignorant because he can fool them. He can pull the wool over their eyes.
And I think that mustachioed fool John Bolton is probably in seventh heaven right now.
Yeah, the chicken hawk, you mean?
Yeah, he wants to go to war, and he's the only human being. I think we said this last episode that still thinks there was absolutely nothing wrong with the war in Iraq. He still would have done it over exactly the same way. It's not good.
Tell you what, since he wants war so much, why don't you sign him up? Put a pair of boots on him, send him overseas.
Oh no! That's for your children, Kevin. Don't you know? It's for other people's children, at least.
That's what joining the Maryland National Guard in the '60s is for, buddy.
But there is some good news on the horizon. The Iranian president said that if the remaining 5 countries continue to abide by the agreement, Iran will remain in the deal despite the will of America. And, I understand people may not be happy with Iran when they were burning American flags in Congress or Parliament or wherever the hell they have in Iran. But it's good news that they're going to stick with it, as of now at least, if these other countries do, because it's still a good deal for us. And plus, it'll just upset Trump a little more, which I can't be upset with.
Well, and it speaks to the disparity between the two countries. We like to think that we're better off than them. But no, at least their leadership is acting more level-headed if they're willing to stay in the agreement as long as other countries do.
And the really weird thing I see it with people who are against the deal or people who are very pro-Trump is You go look at these liberals. They want to love countries like Iran, and they list off all of the bad things that happen in Iran. And guess what? Yeah, Iran is far from perfect. There are a lot of issues that go on there that need to be reformed and changed and stopped. But it doesn't change the fact that having a nuclear deal with them is good for us. It's not a one-to-one comparison. Those are the kind of arguments that we just need to stop. So John McCain's been in the news a lot lately, and as we know, he's undergoing treatment for brain cancer. And last week, a New York Times reporter wrote an article that McCain has requested that Mike Pence attend the funeral, but not Trump. And, that certainly makes sense. Trump has said some horrible things about McCain, has he not?
Well, he certainly has. I don't even care to repeat many of them.
Yeah, and I don't think any of us can forget. I saw it live at like 2 a.m, the thumbs down, which ended the repeal of the ACA. So there's no love between McCain and Trump. And guess what? If you're going to die, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like McCain will win this battle in the long run. You should be able to set some rules about who's going to be coming to your funeral. And the request for Trump not going there really upset Orrin Hatch. And Orrin Hatch, who I used to kind of like. Going back to the college papers, I wrote a paper on him, and I never loved him, but I respected him enough. But he has become such a sycophant to Trump in the last year and a half, 2 years or so. It really is sad. And he said, he's the president of the United States, and he's a very good man. Yeah, okay. But it's up to McCain. I think John should have his own wishes fulfilled with that regard to who attends his funeral. You shouldn't be putting pressure on a guy like that at this moment in his life. You can do whatever he wants, but he really should do it. He's the president. It's not cool.
Yeah, pipe down, Senator Hatch. If the president talked to you that way, you'd feel the same.
Exactly. And, Trump doesn't belong there. And I don't think he'd be welcome even if he tried to go. But that's not even the worst thing that happened in the last couple of weeks with John McCain. Trump aide Kelly Sadler apparently joked that John McCain's opposition to CIA nominee Gina Haspel didn't matter because, he's dying anyways. And, no one's denying this. That's the crazy part. No one's saying, this is fake news. They're not denying it happened. They just don't care.
No, nor are they apologizing for such an inappropriate and tasteless attempt at humor.
It's, I understand there can be gallows humors sometimes in these kind of places. And all they had to do was come out and immediately say, you know what, I should not have said this. It was wrong. I apologize. And it would have gone away probably, but they don't do that. And, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is very upset, and she yelled at her staff about this. But she's not angry because someone said it. She's angry because someone leaked it.
Oh, we know that's their MO. But also this week, CNN's Anderson Cooper is reporting that potentially there are memos that circulate within the White House that require staffers to not apologize.
Oh, God. Because, apologizing makes you weak, right? And I would say the opposite. Apologizing makes you strong because it shows you can admit your mistakes. It's those who can't admit their mistakes who are truly weak, in my opinion. But these leakers are being called traitors by the president of the United States, where, in different circumstances, they may be called patriots for all you know. This is a bipartisan issue, and I actually really, under sad circumstances, enjoy seeing this, that Republican senators, too, are very angry. McCain's BFF, Senator Lindsey Graham, is obviously pissed off. Senator Corker, a Republican from Texas, said that he thinks an apology would be appropriate. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana said, I think the administration should apologize. These are Republicans standing up to the White House saying, just say you're sorry, but alas, it has not happened.
Because Trump doesn't make mistakes.
Nope. It was meant to happen, and if Trump agrees with that, he'll be dead soon. Trump's upset, and I actually read an article about this, that the White House is kind of pissed that McCain's not dying faster. They want him out of there. I think they want him out of there before the election in November, so they can get someone in there and then run as an incumbent beforehand. And that's just disgusting, in my opinion. You may not like his policies, but McCain served. He was a prisoner of war, and he's been a senator for many, many years. Show him at least that. And, by the way, Kevin, there's this rumor going around. It's been going around for a long time, but it's popped back up that they called him, singing John, or the canary of Hanoi Hilton, or something, that said he was giving it. And that's total BS. But the right is right now ready to crap all over his legacy just so that they don't have to take a hit. And again, that's very, very sad.
Yeah, well, great idea. Stop being such a classless jerk, and you won't have to worry about what you say being leaked.
It's really amazing when in previous administrations, if someone made a faux pas and you're like, oh, they shouldn't have said that. That's like child's play now to what comes out of the White House. It's going to be crazy when the next administration comes in, if they can course correct, whether we go back to how things used to be or whether the dam has been broken and the water is flooding on out and you can't put that back in. I long for that day.
Yeah, we can only hope.
Yes. The final thing I want to discuss here is Gina Haspel. We mentioned her a few minutes ago, and we've discussed her in previous episodes. So she's Trump's nominee to run the CIA. And last week she came under some scrutiny and had faced some tough questions from senators during a confirmation hearing. Remember, this is the person who back in 2002 said she had oversight of secret black sites in Thailand where suspected terrorists were subjected to waterboarding and other forms of torture. And during the hearing, she said the decision to destroy the tapes, which were of the torture, was made along with CIA lawyers who said there was no legal requirement to maintain the tapes. Of course, it makes it look like you're hiding something. And that she wouldn't re-implement detention and interrogation programs, even if ordered so by the president. So at least that's something good to hear.
Yeah, she can't imagine why John McCain isn't a fan.
Really, I mean, this guy lives through torture, but they don't believe waterboarding is torture. But I think recently, I don't know if he was a former Marine, but he was also like an MMA guy, made a video of himself being waterboarded and said it wasn't torture, but he wasn't really being waterboarded. The way if you see people, Christopher Hitchens, who I love, he passed away a few years ago. He was kind of a jerk, but he had strong points of view, and he had said in the past that waterboarding wasn't torture, and they waterboarded him, and he was out within like 5 seconds and didn't even remember like saying stop because it was that bad.
Yeah. When you're doing it to yourself, it doesn't count because you have the ultimate control over when you stop. When someone else is doing it to you, that is torture.
Yeah, when you feel like you're drowning and are afraid you may actually do that, well, yeah, I would fold in an instant, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be telling you what you want to hear. I'm going to be telling whatever you want to hear to stop. It's you're not getting the truth. You're just getting anything that you think is going to stop the torture, and that's just not going to be very helpful. So in being questioned by California Senator Kamala Harris, Haspel wouldn't directly answer the repeated question about whether she thought the post 9/11 interrogation techniques were immoral, and it got a little tense there. Harris wanted a yes or no answer, and Haspel was really just sidestepping the question. And I think you're going to see Harris get a little tougher on these questions as we go forward because there's a possible presidential run in her future, and you got to make sure that she's, stating her case and being tough.
Yeah, look, I'll take it from anybody as long as they're going to be tough and really ask the tough questions. This is what needs to happen. You need to vet people before they are given the positions that they're put into. When you don't, the consequences are there and they're real.
And you said you have to vet them because on paper, she looks qualified. She's a career CIA agent. She has more than 30 years with the agency. When you start delving deep into, is that someone we want to be representing us? We've heard it time and time again that we've tried to close the chapter on that dark time in our history and in our intelligence communities when they're doing things like that. And it's really interesting to me, who Trump likes. Sometimes career workers are, they're the swamp, they need to be drained. But when they're people who agree with him, he wants to keep them around and promote them. And again, there's no consistency with the presidency of Donald Trump.
No, he only traded one swamp for another.
No, yeah. So reportedly, by the way, these tapes that were destroyed showed a suspected terrorist being waterboarded 83 times, suspended from hooks at the ceiling, and forced into a coffin for hours on a time. I love Jack Bauer in 24, but that's a TV show. You can't do that stuff in real life. I know when I was younger, I would say I was a little more pro-torture, I would say. Not that I'm in favor of torture, but I would say, you got to do what you got to do. But I've gotten older, it doesn't always work. And we have to be held up to a higher standard. And that, the United States of America can't be doing that stuff, regardless of what other people do.
No, not unless we want our POWs treated that way. Again, see John McCain.
And life should not be tit for tat. You shouldn't be like, well, they did that, so we're going to do this back just to spite them. No, we're better than that. We really are. So, will she be confirmed? Rand Paul has said he'll oppose her, but he always just folds like a cheap card table.
Well, maybe he's tougher now since his neighbor beat him up, though.
Yeah, maybe. John McCain said he may not even vote, but we can imagine how he feels about this. Doug Jones, who just won the special election in Alabama, said he would not vote for her. But my former Senator Warner, who actually is from his hometown, is where we both live right now, I said he will vote for her. So who the heck knows what's going to happen? I'm guessing she probably will get confirmed one way or the other. A lot of the Democratic senators in red states who are facing re-election will probably do it because they're afraid if they don't, they won't get reelected in the fall.
Yeah, last I read this afternoon, reports are looking like she will be confirmed. So it should come as no surprise if she does.
Yeah. And if she does get confirmed, she'd be the first woman to lead the CIA. And I don't know, this led to a ridiculous statement by Sarah Huckabee Sanders, one of many she's made, that any Democrat who claims to support women's empowerment and our national security but opposes her nomination is a total hypocrite. First of all, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. That entire administration are hypocrites. But you can't say, if you support women and women's rights, you have to vote for her simply because she's a woman. That's exactly the wrong thing. They should be treated equal, not special.
Right. Again, rest our case at the entire White House and staff is hypocritical. But
And there are people who like her. There are people who don't like her. There's more than 50 former national security officials, both Republican and Democrat, have endorsed her in a letter sent to the Intelligence Committee. 100 retired admirals and generals are against her. So there's opposition and on both sides, and we'll see what happens. It's going to happen in the next week or so, I think. Like I said, we should probably get confirmed, and we'll just to keep an eye on her to make sure this stuff does not happen again. It can't happen again.
Again, Defense Secretary James Mattis, a retired Marine Corps general, has said he was more successful with a pack of cigarettes and some beer than using torture to get suspected terrorists to talk. So there are other methods.
All right, Kevin, what do you have for Kevin's Corner this week?
Well, Jesse, America as a nation cannot exist in isolation. We are the leaders of the free world. Yet we fulfill this role because of our ability to guide other nations toward the ideals of democracy. However, the current president has seen fit to exit the United States from an international climate agreement, as well as from a deal which limits Iran's ability to produce nuclear energy for anything other than a source of electricity. Backing away from these agreements does not serve the U.S. well. We coexist on this planet with many other nations, some of which do not embody the same democratic beliefs, yet we must still strive towards shared responsibility towards humanity. Backing out of these deals threatens not only the future of the planet, it threatens the safety and security of a world in which countries of differing perspectives and competing economies can still civilly negotiate in order to heal rifts that divide them. To back away from the table, content simply to settle a political score against the opposing political party in an attempt to undo the legacy of a more forward-thinking leader, is puerile and irresponsible action.
As always, Kevin, very well said. So if between now and when this gets posted, more stuff has happened. I'm sorry we haven't covered it yet, but we'll on the next show. It seems to be nonstop, as we mentioned before. But, I had a good time, Kevin, today. It's good to be back after a week off. So much news to happen, and I only want to talk about it with you, Kevin.
Oh, well, gee, thanks, but I appreciate that, and I enjoy.
You're my ride or die.
I enjoy discussing these topics of import with you as well, my friend.
Well, remember to go to our website at grabthembythepod.com to find a whole bunch of information out about the two of us and this podcast. And until next time, Kevin, it's been fun.
Later.